And welcome to the December board meeting for the Board of, for the Board of Governors of the Reston Community Center. Hope you all are well out there and warm. First order of business is approval of the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Next order of business is approval of minutes from November the 2nd.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Next order of business is approval of the November 2nd board actions.
Second. Just slight question about the possible edit. Third from the last, should that be preference poll committee report? Because earlier it had committee in there and finance says committee. I don't know if,
Sure.
earlier it said preference poll committee report. So I just want to make sure they're aligned.
Wait, where are you talking about? On the
Oh, I'm
board
sorry,
actions.
I'm on board actions, so it's page, it's the
Okay,
very
board
last
actions.
thing.
3 from the bottom.
The board approved the 2020 preference poll committee.
Oh, add the word committee, yeah.
Yes, which is what it says in motion for in the,
No.
minutes.
Thank you, Paul.
Next order of
Oh, no, we haven't voted on it yet.
As amended.
Oh, as amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
We need a second.
Hmm?
I think they would, Bill,
Bills.
moved, or moved. He moved and he seconded.
Seconded.
Right.
1, 2.
Okay. Was a little more complicated than it could have been.
Sorry.
Okay, next order of business is the chair's remarks. And we are in a surreal time. This does not seem at all possible that for 10 months we have been in limbo, and that we will have probably by the first of the year over 300,000 people dead. And except for our president-elect, nobody talks about these people. And there was one story I heard the other day. One girl lost 11 family members. It's just amazing, and you saw the rally the other night. I don't get it. But we should remember all of these people, a lot of them were healthcare workers today. And I have a friend whose brother was married to a nurse who had retired and came home, and of course they were calling all these people back. And so she went back and brought COVID home. She didn't get sick, but her husband got sick, my friend's brother. And they put him in hospital, and his son refused to leave him. He said he was going to stay with his father. The father died, and a week later, the son died. So she lives here. She's a member of my church, and she's suffering through this, right? It's all too much. Trying to find something uplifting. This is called for Katrina's sundial. Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity. Remember, and tell the people that you care about. Esme has this thing that she does when I take her to school now, because it's weird why do kids get fixated at a certain time on death? She is so afraid because my husband died that I am going to die. And so she keeps telling me she doesn't want me to go away from her forever. So when we go to school, she kisses me and hugs me, and I have the mask on, so she's trying to find a place that she can kiss. And then she'll leave, and then she'll run back and say one more. It's because children, all those little things, you all will be happy that my daughter edits all of the things I write for the newsletter. Because she said, no, you cannot do this to people. And so I have a whole stack of very depressing things, and so she manages to find something that's more. But the one thing that I constantly talk about is that remember the children, look to the children, because they will internalize this and they will suffer in a totally different way that we don't even understand.
Sesame Street does some wonderful stuff with children and death and dying going away. I went from a long time ago, and I know they probably updated it. But
Yeah.
and even people, child psychologists, they do understand it is in a totally different way. And yes, it's very scary. The whole time is different until you reach age of reasoning. So that's why when she leaves you, like, she may not know you're gonna be there at 3. You
Yeah.
come to pick her up, and it's very scary. It's very real.
Yeah.
The news is not helping.
Yeah. And there was the psychologist on TV the other day talking about, and when, I can't remember which reporter it was now, if it was Jane Pauley or what, but she said, you're telling me that a 3-year-old can be depressed,
Yeah.
and they can be. And also your pets can get depressed too. You've had that. Yeah. Okay, now that we're all depressed,
Thanks.
we'll introduce our visitors. We have none tonight. No citizens input. Next, we will have Mr. Bowie, who will give us the Long Range Planning Committee minutes.
That was our
It was tonight, I
meeting
know.
tonight.
So we met with Supervisor Alicorn, we did our board orientation for all the new members, of which there are none. And we talked a lot about what Walter sees out there in the community, projects that he's working on, and how RCC has been such a great thing, the things that they've been doing during the pandemic, and trying to support the community, and looking forward to trying to increase that role as Preston continues to morph and change and grow. Our involvement becomes even more clear. That's it.
Thank you. Do we approve this minutes right now?
We can certainly accept that report.
We accept that report.
So I move that we accept that report.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Next order of business is the board member input on activities attended. Let's start with Mr. Bill.
Let's see, there were there's a task force meeting or 2, and a transportation subcommittee meeting or 3. And so in terms of direct arresting things, I guess that's where the main one. P&Z hasn't met in a while because nobody's got projects right now. Oh, I had a delightful Thanksgiving with my grandkids.
We've just been living the COVID-19 lifestyle, essentially, hardly ever going out except for walking and grocery shopping. Had a wonderful Thanksgiving, but just with our son, and made the very difficult, sad decision to cancel our daughter and her family's trip for Christmas. that was a low point of the last several weeks. Other than that, it's walking, reading, watching television, cooking, eating. The COVID lifestyle.
Yes, we're all doing those things.
Right.
Ditto.
Ditto, Bill.
Lots of meetings. Did receive a surprise a week ago. No, it was just this past Saturday night. I got a call from Kirk Buchanan, who's our director of the Park Authority. He's done a tremendous job.
Yeah.
And he says, you know what, I'm going to call it a day. It's a little too soon. So he is leaving us and retiring in February. And so tomorrow, Wednesday, we will commence another national search for a new director. The board will be engaged in for the next 6 months, I'm sure. Other than that, nothing.
Different kind of Thanksgiving as everyone else has had. A lot of time spent supporting the school system by making sure my wife stays relatively sane. And Supervisor Alcorn asked me to serve on the Human Services Council, and so I did some sort of, made a few phone calls and sort of asked people, so, you know, to get the history on it, sort of the direction of where they're going. And so I learned a whole lot more about the Human Services Council, and with Walter I do it. So I guess my first meeting is 21st, so should be fun.
That's great.
Living the COVID lifestyle like everyone else. And, you know, I do a little diversity and equity work, and talk about COVID exposing something. It's stuff that you don't really want to look at that's kind of thrown in the face. You want to care for it to be. And hopefully the society will learn a lot from this moving forward. It's just kind of scary and what it affects and how it hits certain people harder. We have to really think about that. So, not my area of expertise, but people start, people ask a lot of questions when we do this work, and so I'm learning a lot and having to explore stuff I'd rather not explore. But hopefully it will help people moving forward. But like everyone else, the holidays are a little different. We had to make our kids self-quarantine because they didn't see us, and we actually were saying, we are older now, which is hard to say because I don't consider myself old, got old. But it's like, hey, you guys are young and vibrant, so you can be caring and not knowing. You give it to us, and we're, that's a little scary to think about. And also, the first time having parents so close, but my mom is a cancer survivor, so we're trying to not see her. So we were able to go to her parking, her driveway, and take a good picture. But it's hard to not have a meal with her. And she right there. I said, look, Mom, we really want to see you, but I'm going to the grocery store. Who knows? I think I'm pretty healthy, but I hate that. So same old, but it's. I'm not COVID weary. It's wearing on people, but it beats the alternative. I mean, I just have to say, I just watching the news, and there's that one part. There's so many people. I was like, what were you thinking? So, anyways, I just think we have to learn how to be equity for everybody, and learn how to. It's not just about me. This is a we thing. This is a we thing, and I think when we think that way, and our president-elect is talking about, and so are some of the physicians and nurses who are tired. They are tired, and they can't train people fast enough. They need a break, and so this is real. And someone was just saying the flu that happened in 1918 was 2 years through that. And they talk about the Depression was 10 years, and World War II was 4, and people did it. So enough of my lecture, but as hard as it is, wash your hands, keep your distance, and wear a mask. It is really, that part's simple, and let the scientists do what they need to do. But if we act like I'm not doing it, guess what?
But for some reason, people have gotten that the freedom that is being taken away from them.
Right.
We need to do some time machine and take some of these people back to slavery.
Yep. And there's cute little meme, a meme that's showing the Titanic going down, and someone saying, "You can't make me put on a life jacket. That's against my civil rights."
Well, that's okay, because the life jacket, that person alone will drown. It's getting the other people sick.
But it's
If somebody wants to jump off a cliff, let them do it, but don't take other people.
Yeah, this hurts other people. That's the thing. As I said, it's a we,
Yeah,
not a
no,
me.
right,
So
absolutely.
go and wear a mask and stay in your house.
And so for this Thanksgiving, we didn't, my son just lives over the line. He left Reston. He just lives right over the line in Herndon, and we normally spend our holidays with them, but they were gonna have 13 people without us.
Yep.
So we didn't go. And my youngest granddaughter before, of Esme, was at JMU, where they had a big outbreak. And she was coming home, and her boyfriend was coming, who has been in basic training
Oh.
and stuff. So we said, no, we're not even coming with masks.
Your,
That's crazy.
Survey says.
And your son and Herndon, their next door neighbor, the whole house had it.
They did?
Yeah. So, the whole house.
I don't know how but my son thinks he had it before it was announced that we had it. He thinks he had it in January.
A lot of people think they had it in January.
Yeah, and I
son did,
think
my
most of my
friends of
church
ours
had it
did.
in January and
Oh, my-
February.
no,
We
they
did,
didn't have
and we
it.
had a couple
I think
of
people
people
like to think it's
during that time too. But, oh, this too shall pass.
In that regard, one thing that helps me at least is to think that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This will only last another 3-4 months.
Well, I don't
We've done it
wanna-
for 10 months. We can do it for another 3-4 months.
Well, it's, the thing that is so crazy to me is this whole thing that you have to get out. People just have to, my daughter, when we would have any drops of snow, whatever, she gets cabin fever in 2 hours. and I said, it's still, you know what, I could stay in my house by myself forever. Unfortunately, I stayed there with other people, but. Okay, the next order of business is the executive director's report.
Okay, so included in your materials tonight are the October financials because.
It's in the handout section.
Pardon me?
It's in the handout section.
In the handout section.
Right, the handout section with a very helpful page in front of it that says October financials. There's nothing remarkable about these numbers to call your attention to, except that Renata and I did check today on the status of our tax receipts. These are figures as of the end of October, so they're out of date, obviously. But we have reached about 83% of our target on the tax receipts. As you know, December 7th today is the deadline for payment of the second half of people's property tax bills. So we imagine that by the end of this week, we'll see even the balance of what we're hoping to achieve reached. And that's a very good thing, because on the revenue from fees side of our ledger, things are not quite as rosy. I will say that in terms of how each of our various program areas are performing, we're seeing very good participation in visual arts program offerings. We're seeing increasingly robust participation in the use of the aquatics venue and purchasing of passes and using the reservation system. The fitness classes that we're offering are well attended, and people are using those passes, the ceramics and the woodworking shop. So people are doing things that they feel they can control as much as possible, and where they know that we're controlling for capacity. We had a couple of youth programs, holiday-themed youth programs, not nearly as many families attending as there have been in the past, but still some enrollment, so that was gratifying to see. Nonetheless, our revenue, our target is in roughly the $200,000 range for reaching a 20% target of our annual revenue is typically about $1 million. And we are nowhere near that $200,000 target, so we're watching that carefully, and that's why I include our revenue status for enrolled programs and pass use in our Tuesday and Friday updates. So it isn't all the revenue that we're earning. It doesn't include in the two updates the revenue from facility rentals, which we will see pick up, I think, as we get out of winter and into spring. We have some robust rental utilization of the pool. There are 3 now youth swim teams who are renting for practices, and the South Lakes High School team comes in December. And of course, we have masters. No?
I wouldn't count on that. But-
As of now, yeah.
As of now, but I
As of now.
I just wouldn't get
The
my heart
14th.
set on it.
Well, you know, my heart is not set on anything like
I'm
that.
just saying.
I agree.
I'm just-
But that's sort of interesting because we have the Herndon Swim Club, York Swim Club, and Preston Swim Team all regularly practicing in the pool. Their entire rosters.
I think Lisa Rose wants to do it, but.
It's like water ballet down there, and they have quite a protocol for each of those teams in terms of with the kids being temperature checked, and they have to do a health self-check online, but with their parents have to affirm it. There's all kinds of protocols that they follow before they even come into the building.
I understand all of that. It's just that I would not be really surprised
If they cancel.
if they shut down all winter sports in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And the board is meeting, school board is meeting today or tomorrow, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Plus on a week-to-week basis, a lot of programs have had to hit the pause button. So, we'll see.
Well, we'll see. So, in any case, there is some activity. We have one theater rental occurring this week. The Ravel Dance Company is renting the theater, and they're videotaping a version of their version of Nutcracker. Yeah, but so it all has to be accommodated within the capacity, the new governor directive capacity for the theater venue, which is 30%, which allows for 76 bodies in the theater complex. So there's no audience for this. We had the Mark Brochet's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on Saturday, and I think there were maybe 8 or 9 of us in there, trying hard to give back some of the energy that Mark was putting out on stage, but obviously a solo show, so very easy to socially distance on stage for that. So we're continuing to adapt as we can and move forward. But for example, not in the Tuesday and Friday report because it's just not hardly worth mentioning at this point, but I think we're still under $2,000 for the whole of our professional touring artist series season's events so far, and I don't expect a lot to robustly creep up in that category for the coming couple to 3 months of winter. We split up the winter spring program guide so that we would be able to offer smaller chunks at a time of enrollment options, just so we don't have to go through the horror of refunding things if we get shut down or if capacities change or we have to cancel a lot of stuff. It's much more work for the media team to do 2 guides instead of 1, but they've soldiered through that. So we have a guide for January and February that's up now on the website, and then shortly the guide for March, April, May will go up. We are hoping that the first paper mail program guide that we do again will be for the fall cycle of programming. Because I don't know what's going to happen with summer and summer school, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to assume that things will be normal, because I don't see how they possibly can be normal, given how much time kids have lost in school. The summer camp offerings that we designed, we did keep in mind that kids have lost a tremendous amount of school time. So what used to be our before care, after care options that we call Zen Zone are all going to have some learning focus and some activities and things for kids to engage in, so that they get back in the habit of responding to a structure where an adult directs some engagement, some mental engagement, so that there's some element of educational experience returning. The capital projects, we had the system balancing today. It'll go on a little bit more tomorrow. We had to schedule a maintenance day for the pool on December 19th for a complete maintenance check on the new filtration systems, and we have to do that in terms of the timing of their installation to preserve our warranties on all that filtration equipment. Bill Penniman, the vendor, is going to be doing a solar panels site visit here on December 15th, next Tuesday,
That's similar.
a week from Tuesday.
Cool.
Very excited about that. The theater seating project is done. If you do come to the theater, it'll be a really cool experience because it smells like a new car in there, even with a mask on. We still have the room, these room dividers are still being constructed, so we're waiting for that. The wellness studio floor replacement. should
Next
have-
Monday. It starts next Monday, the
Monday.
wellness room
All
floor.
right, awesome, John. And the
Fine.
restroom renovation project at Lake Ann, we're going to proceed with, and Fred is going to essentially be the contractor oversight on that project. The Thanksgiving food drive this year was very successful. We combined forces with RA. We had, they did, in conjunction with our drive, they did 2 Stuff the Bus events that we put the PR for these events all together as a consolidated food drive effort with the chamber as we normally do. But that proved very successful. We got 4,000 some pounds of food, a lot of gift cards. There was enough collected and packaged and sent off to Cornerstone for 350 families for several months, I think 3-4 months worth of meals. So great job by Kevin Danaher and all the folks involved with that. We have holiday performances outdoors at Reston Town Center that are taking place. They started the weekend after Thanksgiving and have been very well received. People are being very compliant with the social distancing requirement and mask wearing requirement. So that's been a nice addition. And we're using the funds that we would have normally used for the Thanksgiving parade, the holiday parade, sponsorship to underwrite those performances, so that we're able to translate the support there. We usually have the Gifts from the Heart annual shopping extravaganza at Lake Ann in conjunction with Santa Wingert's appearance on the barge, but that was canceled this year, and And we're obviously not having a big craft show in the Lake Ann facility, but instead of that, our media team, Sam Porkowski and Sherry and Gloria, created a very cool virtual artist directory that lives on our website. So I urge you to go there. The artists, there are dozens of artists whose work is in this directory, and little thumbnails and links to their websites and ways you can get to their work and make purchases. And they will donate the 10% they typically donate in that shopping event. They donate 10% of their proceeds to Cornerstones, and they are going to do that for sales that they effect through the virtual artist directory. So that's a really creative way to pivot and keep that tradition going. We had a scholarship workshop that we do every year. This Marion Reagans, who talks about how people can get scholarship grant money for college, and we did that with her this year on the Zoom platform, the agency's Zoom platform, and we had 46 participants, which is about what we get normally in person for that event. So that was actually very gratifying, because it cost a lot less to do it on a Zoom platform than to bring her here and host her, and we still served a population eager for that information. The letters to Santa, we normally have several dozen kids and their caregivers or parents with us for that. We had 26 kids, so 26 kids wrote letters to Santa. For December, we have a gift to the community. We have two of our very popular instructors, Kim Golub-Pagani, who's known to generations of wrestling kids as Miss Kim, is doing 3 of her preschool age target craft classes live on our Facebook platform at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, I think it is, Karen. So tomorrow morning at 11.
It might be 11:30.
11:30. Anyway, go to the RCC Facebook page and you'll see it. We're leaving them up, but for her first one, she had over 80-some engagements with that platform, which is way more kids than she can deal with in person, and so that's very nice. And Anya Avalov is our Zumba Gold and one of our very popular fitness instructors. She's doing a family exercise class 3 times in the month of December. Same thing, Facebook Live platform, so people can. This is a little bit different from being on the YouTube platform. On the YouTube platform, the films just go up and they stay there. Facebook Live, we wanted to create a sort of an appointment for people who are used to that kind of structure. When they enroll in a class, they know they're supposed to come at a certain day of the week and certain time, and so we wanted to give that to the community through the month of December, just as a way for families to break up the day a little bit, to reach that preschool population. That's a big target for us for the Opportunity Neighborhood goals around getting kids ready for school. So these are the kinds of things that help do that for 2, 3, 4-year-olds with their parents. So it's not it is not easy. The staff has been great. We've had to cancel our typical in-person December all-staff team builder event where we review the year's successes. We will be celebrating the retirement of our technical director, Linda Eifert. Her last day officially in that role is January 19th, so we'll be sending her off with a virtual tribute. We'll be having this event online this year. The last time we did an all-staff gathering on Zoom, I think we had about 115 of our employees on the platform. It's challenging because you have to keep hitting that arrow so you can see everybody. But it's really important and necessary. We have service milestones to recognize and Linda's departure. And then we are also going to be in the last hour of that event. We will have our first all-staff equity One Fairfax policy training introduction. Our agency's equity lead is Phoebe Wynn, and she will be doing the first all-staff kind of introduction to the principles of equity and how those connect with the One Fairfax policy. And then finally, in January, on the 8th and 9th, we have arranged for the RA facility for us with sufficient, just like this, sufficient social distancing. We'll just add the senior staff, department heads to that experience. On Friday, we will focus on, we'll do our normal data report, although the data by now should be very familiar to everybody. But we will also spend the bulk of the time on Friday having a conversation about the COVID-19 impacts, both positive and negative, and sort of what are our takeaways, lessons learned, what have you heard from people about what we have done or not done, and some brainstorming around, what can we take away from this that's valuable and that we should be thinking about as we go through and beyond COVID. And then on Saturday, we'll spend the bulk of the time discussing how we can plan both the calendar timetable for re-engaging with our strategic plan process. Remember, we had such a fantastic February kickoff to that last year, and then COVID. So we have to reconnect and figure out, based a lot on what we will have discussed around COVID, how to adapt and how to reset, and then sort of what our targets will be in terms of that next strategic plan. And corollary to that is how the plan documents that we stood up in conjunction with the CAPRA process, how they will fit into the strategic plan calendar and timetable for adaptation or just bringing them up to date, and incorporating whatever we think needs to be incorporated as a result of the pandemic. And then there will come after that not only the engagement and planning processes, but one of the recommendations they made, the CAPRA folks made, was that we formally, that the board formally accept the staff report from the January meeting. So we'll do a little bit more formal process around that, not just as a committee report, but formally accept the update to the existing strategic plan, and then we'll look at any other of the documents that need review around that CAPRA timetable, as well as we start thinking about how to bring the conversation back to the community and re-engage with the community about the next strategic plan. That's it. Lunasa is here. They are hell-bent on coming on December 17th. These guys have been stuck in New York together. They've been rehearsing and recording. They have not been performing. This will be their only real 2020 U.S. gig. They can't wait to get here. They can't wait to see their friends in Reston. They feel they can do it very safely because they'll be traveling together and with us for one night. So I will say that theater is about as safe an environment as you can be in because there's so much air in it, and everything. The seats have not absorbed anything yet because they're so new, and it's all set up for social distancing. and public safety, so.
Are tickets for sale for that now?
They are, you can, in the COVID context, board members each get a complimentary ticket, one ticket. We would very much appreciate if you buy one ticket, if you come in a pair. And just let me or Bill Parker know that you'd like to attend, and he will set you up. I think we have about 20 or 30 of our very limited inventory of about, out of the 76 human beings that can be in the theater, 10 of them are artists and technicians, so that's allows for about 60-some people in the house, and there are 40-some that are ticketed of those seats. So there's enough for you guys if you want to
I'll
come.
come in on
Right.
it. I don't know about Marion.
Okay. That's it.
And I totally forgot, in the activities attended by the board, I gave a concert in November.
That's right.
And it was very interesting. I had two people in the house. They were two very good people. One that took a great, he sent me a great love letter, it was. Okay?
He did.
It was really terrific. And he came with 2 of my CDs for me to sign. And the other person is a professor at Nova who teaches Spanish, who is going to help me with some of my Spanish. But what I'd really like to find, and if there's somebody out there who knows, I want some zarzuelas.
Want some what?
Zarzuelas. They're,
Oh, yeah.
they're the Spanish torch songs. Oh. And they're, I'd love to sing some of those and understand them while I'm singing. But there were, 22 people watching. But I can't tell you how many people I met the next day who said, I'm going to look at your concert tonight.
Well, sadly for them, the Ollie concerts disappeared.
They just go like that.
There are all these intricacies around licensing and the rights to music. So the Ollie concerts are live streamed, and as long as you live stream and then it disappears, like it was a live performance, you're okay on the licensing thing. You can't leave it up.
Yeah. I had a friend from New Mexico call and said, your time is different from mine, so I'm going to look at it tonight.
Good luck with
You're
that.
not. Nope, have a vivid imagination. Next order of business, is there any old business? Okay. New business, a lot of it you touched on for our strategic planning.
I'd like to ask a question. Have you been in contact with other county people about the distribution of the inoculation of the new virus thing? Do we pay
They made a presentation to county staff about the plan. As you can imagine, it's totally aligned with the CDC recommendations of who gets it when, and it will be managed out of the Fairfax County Health Department, and it will be nursing home and frontline workers in nursing home, and then I think it's people over 80 and healthcare workers, and then frontline or essential employees, and then people over 65, and then the general population.
How are they going to identify people? And how is the word going to get out to people? You're in this room, you can come get your jab
Well,
tomorrow.
think about how normal flu vaccine campaigns occur. So for this, the first 1, 2, 3, or 4 phases of vaccine distribution, they will be taking the vaccine to the places where those populations are working. So it's all confined to, in the early stages, to institutional settings where the vaccine will be delivered in that setting. But when it's a general public proposition, they will stand it up just like a flu season. If you remember back to H1N1, this was a big feature of the H1N1 pandemic. They set up flu shot clinics in the pharmacies, in the grocery stores, in you know, your healthcare providers, doctors' offices. They will look for places where they can set up mass vaccination in hotspots where the concentration of the virus has been highest. That's where they'll go. So like we had just like the testing events. So there'll be probably at Southgate Community Center a vaccine clinic set up there, or at the schools, or at, you know, wherever there is sufficient space to do the vaccinations and socially distance. And it'll be a multifaceted process.
But if the news is only distributed, it's the information that it seems to me is problematic. Because if it's simply done through commercial news or PBS or.
Your healthcare provider should be providing you, if no one
But
else.
I mean, there'll be people, for instance, this is where I was thinking FCC might have a role, in the opportunity neighborhoods where they don't see a doctor every so
Right,
often.
but Dick, for opportunity neighborhoods and for hotspots throughout the county, there's already a network and a system that's been established because of the testing needs. So when the virus started sweeping through these communities in higher positivity rates and higher rates than the general population, the health department moved resources into those communities, in the places where people were accustomed to and trusted going. If you recall, we had them look at our facility as a potential testing site, and they just have a challenge with this building because with the testing, they wanted to have a fire engine, basically an ambulance situation set up in case some adverse event occurred. And that was really the essential difference between this venue and Southgate, because they could position that vehicle, that emergency vehicle, right at the front door. So, you know, they'll figure it out, and because of the testing regimes, they've already established a communication process and a system to reach the folks who, and I'm quite confident that there will be, I hope, by the time we reach that point, which will be March or April, you know, that there will have been enough of a track record with the vaccine that people will see, oh, it works. And that there'll be more confidence. We won't have the prevaricator in chief, you know, muddying the messaging. And hopefully people will, you know, they will, I think people will be quite eager to get the vaccine, and
a lot of people will. And you don't see any role for RCC in
I mean, if we're asked, just like we were asked to be, for them to come and see if we could function as a test site, of course we will. But, you know, I would anticipate the same egress-ingress issues they had then would pertain with a vaccine situation.
Anything